the Orioles have lost 2 in a row right now. I think they still have won 7 of their last 10, if I'm not mistaken, or 6 of the last 10. New York, on the other hand, it's been a rough go for the last month or so since the Orioles and Yankees last played.
Yeah, it feels like that week where, the Yankees drop a series to Boston, then they drop the series to Baltimore. It feels like it's just kind of been this recycling. The pitching hasn't been so good, right? The bullpen hasn't been as sharp. The offense hasn't been great. So kind of everything isn't going the Yankees' way right now. And for fans in Baltimore panicked about their team, I mean, I'd argue there are a lot of reasons not to be panicked, including having, I think the best record in the AL right now, or at least they're like either tied with the Guardians or something like that. I mean, the Orioles, they're one of the best teams in baseball. They, not even a month ago, they put a beating on the Phillies, who are currently putting a beating on the Dodgers. So I think it's pretty cut and dry that they are pretty good right now. And they've got the farm system to get better at the deadline. So I wouldn't be too worried if I'm Baltimore.
Isn't it kind of crazy real fast? The difference that 4 weeks ago they met, and it was like immovable object. It was just like unstoppable force versus immovable object. And now these teams are meeting again right before the All-Star break, and it's like, well, someone has to win. Like both teams can't lose all 3 games. So it really is. They both went from playing some of their best ball of the season to definitely, I think both teams are looking forward to the All-Star break.
Yeah, they both. I mean, the Yankees really need the All-Star break. It's not even just a matter of like guys slumping. The bullpen, I feel like, is really getting spent because starters aren't going as deep into games. And I know the rotation's kind of been a question mark for the Orioles for a couple of weeks now, so I think you guys can attest to this. In a series too, your bullpen really, like when you have to keep going to guys in the 4th or 5th inning after you're getting used to getting your guys through 5 or 6 innings, it really does put a lot of pressure on guys. I think it almost overexposed the bullpen. I think some people almost over-exaggerate the flaws in a bullpen because you're going to your 8th guy, the guy that's probably not even going to make the playoff roster or be on the roster after the deadline. You're going to them constantly to try to mop up innings. It's and on top of that too, you have to kind of load manage, not in the way that you do in the NBA, but in a sense of like you can't use your best relievers every single game. And I feel like some people get on managers a little bit too much for that, but you got to play for tomorrow in a sense because it's not the postseason; it's the regular season still. Yeah. You can't burn through guys.
Yeah, I mean, as much as people want to see their guys consistently that they won out there, you're just not going to have that. And that's the reason why you have a bullpen and people have different roles. You want everyone to be elite or a guy that you can count on in the 6th inning as well as the 9th inning or anything in between. But you're right. You can't have that. And even some of the best arms, I mean, shoot, Ryan, Clay Holmes, and we talked about this in the past. I think Clay Holmes is a talented pitcher. He really is. Is he a Clay Holmes that should be an all-star? Probably not. But again, it's a guy that has probably been worked a little bit more because the Yankees have been in a little bit of a rut. And on top of that, then for the Yanks, injuries add up. And for their pitching staff as a whole, it's been a struggle. But also and Zach, I wanted to get this point out across for this. The Yankees now, it's the straight year of having this type of losing streak. But make no mistake as well, the Yankees also, we saw earlier in 2024, be as hot as the sun. And everyone was so mad. The Orioles were playing well, but they couldn't catch the Yankees. Ryan, you remember those good times? Was that a fun time for you?
Yeah, it was good to know that like whenever you guys won, we would win just like every day. So it feels like it's the opposite.
Yeah. Lose.
Yeah. But so in general, I just wanted you to point that out. And we'll get around to some questions here in a second. But let me start with this then, Ryan. About the bullpen. Let's talk about now this starting rotation that's going to face Baltimore. And 2 names specifically, Rodon and Garrett Cole. We've seen the Rodon issues, but you think that this start for Garrett Cole might be just as important?
Yeah, so the velocity was up against Boston, which is super encouraging, right? You need to see the Garrett Cole, like that type of Garrett Cole, the 96, 97s. But it didn't feel like the movement profile on the fastball, like it wasn't getting as much ride. He got kind of, Rafael Devers, what he does to Garrett Cole is just like, I guess I can't even watch the at-bats anymore. But there were some bloops those were unfortunate, but it didn't feel like Cole was overpowering guys, and that's always a concern because that's what Garrett Cole's MO is, right? It's the power fastball, the power slider. He's kind of become more of a finesse guy with the cutter in recent years, but it's still just the 1-2 punch, being able to strike dudes out. He wasn't able to do that consistently when he came back. He really got roughed up against the Mets. This is a big start for him. It's a huge opponent in Baltimore. You can say whatever you want about their struggles, but I think they have like an 806 OPS in the last like 20 something games. I mean, that's ridiculous, right? You're playing in Baltimore. If you're Garrett Cole, you have to deliver, right? If this is, you're the ace, right? This is a big start. Got to deliver. That's kind of where he's at right now. And then for Rodon, the lack of, it's just the fastball keeps getting beat and he keeps trying to go to it early in games. And by the time he's made the adjustment to go to secondary stuff, 4 or 5 runs on the board. And at that point, you're basically out of the game.
Yeah. And you talked about, especially coming back from injury, the Orioles kind of just saw this with Kyle Bradish, obviously a different type of elbow injury, but it's hard when fans see these aces come back. They're immediately like, okay, he should be pitching like an ace again, like he's an ace. And it takes a few weeks, a few starts to really get back into that swing of pitching in the major leagues. Because much like Kyle Bradish, Garrett Cole didn't really have a spring training. It wasn't like he was getting revved up and then something happened. So all of this is still kind of Garrett Cole's spring training. So I agree. It is. Ryan, you have something you want to add?
I would like to. This is my hand up for that point. I think it's a great thing you just mentioned because I think people already have the assumption that just because you're healthy that you're going to go out there and dominate. But how healthy truly is Garrett Cole, right? This was an inflammation situation where guys coming back from injuries, one, it's the reps, but then two, you never know if you can feel like you can get by the mental hurdle and the physical hurdle. And right now for Garrett, there could be a combination, right, Ryan, that it's look, he physically might be getting back, but the mental hurdle of getting over the injuries and the grind is a whole different type of level. And I know the example here in Baltimore, it's on the other side. Kyle Bradish came out the gates hot, right? He looked good, but the physical part was the issue. There's the other side of players that are coming back from injuries where it takes some time. And I think for Garrett Cole, it just looks like on his face, Ryan, he seems a little bit more frustrated on the mental side. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, it doesn't look like he's hitting his spots, and command is, to be a great pitcher, you have to have the stuff, but you also have to be able to locate consistently, right? Like what goes into getting a swing and a miss, right? A fastball that has really good vertical movement, it doesn't matter if it's, got good ride if it's in the middle of the zone, because that's still a hittable pitch. Or a great slider. I think of a big, nasty sweeper. Well, if it's in the middle of the zone, it's a hanging breaking ball, right? So you have to be able to locate your stuff, and I feel like he hasn't consistently hit his spots, and that's certainly been frustrating for him. The walks, like that's been up, and that's not very Garrett Cole-like. And then to your point about the mental block, like guys want to get hurt again. When you're thinking, hey, should I air it out? Like, can I push myself to get that 99, 100? Does it come with the risk of, am I going to hurt my elbow again? Right? No one wants to get hurt. No one wants to go through the rehabilitation process again. No one wants to be on the sidelines or in the clubhouse or in Tampa rehabbing and throwing and trying to get their strength and conditioning up. You want to be on the field and competing, right? And, I do think there's 100% that mental component of, just like getting your body to or getting your mind to get over that fear of getting hurt again and pushing your body to give yourself that max effort pitch.
Yeah. And we talked a little bit about, just off the bat, the Yankees and Orioles only being separated by 2 games again, and the AL East and what that has kind of turned into this year. And Kevin, I believe you had a question kind of about that.
Yeah, I know the standings in the AL East, Ryan, right now are kind of crazy because the Red Sox are just making this push that no one really expected them to. But the Yankees, it's not like they're out of the AL East conversation. They're only 2 games back of the Orioles right now, but the Red Sox are kind of creeping up on them. With these struggles, are you, and Yankees fans and people who cover this team, are you still looking at that AL East crown spot? Or are you kind of looking over your shoulder a little bit and you're like, oh, hey, what's that Red Sox team doing over there?
Yeah, for sure. You have to be. If I'm going to sit here and say, well, we're right there in the AL East hunt, well, the Red Sox are right there, right behind us, right? I think you can't overlook a team like Boston where, the things they do really well, pitching, they've added more lineup depth. Like those things are really important. Those things are kind of key marks of a contender. They have the farm system to add at the deadline if they choose to do so. It's not like that's a team you can just look over. And I think in the wild card format too, the Yankees right now are in a wild card situation. So you have to think about who they're going to face in the wild card. That is not a team you want to play in a 3-game set. We've played them twice in 3-game sets. They've beaten us twice in 3-game sets. They've beaten us on the margins. They've beaten us, you could say, well, there was a 1-run game. Well, this and that. Well, end of the day, 1-run losses, 2-run losses are still losses. So, Boston, I can't overlook them. And Minnesota's like 2 games back of us for the top wild card spot. So you can't get hyper fixated on the AL East for the Yankees. You have to make sure you're also in the playoffs.
Yeah, you got to get in. Also, if Rafael Devers is playing for the Red Sox against the Yankees, he's going to hit the shit out of the ball. He owns the New York Yankees. And quite frankly, the Red Sox kind of own the Yankees right now. There is a little mental, advantage that they have. And I know a lot of people talk about like that rivalry, and it's great. The Red Sox and Yankees, it's great. But Rock, I think it's fair to say the rivalry with the Orioles and Yankees after that last series, I don't know. Things are feeling a little bit bitter between the two guys. And Ryan, because the only thing we're saying this, people are saying you're the most level-headed Yankees fan they've ever seen. But Rock, why don't you ask Ryan the question about these two teams?
No, Ryan, growing up watching the AL East, and for years it has been Yankees, Red Sox has been that rivalry. Always fireworks when these two teams play. The fan bases just absolutely hate each other. But I think we're seeing a lot of that now with the Yankees and the Orioles. How would you assess the rivalry between these two teams right now? And is that slowly becoming the best rivalry in the division?
Yeah, I mean, I would reasonably argue the 2 best teams in the division, so I automatically think it makes it the best. At least, I obviously have to ignore historical context of the Yankees Red Sox that goes back for so long. But in terms of the current day, like right here, right now, absolutely, I think it's a better rivalry, right? Like it's 2 teams contending for World Series. They're both aggressively pushing. You have, even if you kind of look at roster construction, right? Like you have Corbin Burnes and Garrett Cole, right? These are 2 well-established aces, Cy Young winners, that kind of caliber of pitcher. On the offense side of things, if you look at the AL MVP standings, right, it's Gunnar Henderson and Aaron Judge, right? Those are the 2 guys. So the 2 best players in the AL play for the Yankees and Orioles. These 2 teams, obviously with the stuff that happened with the hit by pitches, I know that fans are going bonkers about that. I personally don't really read much into it. Like, I don't think, do I think the Orioles intentionally tried to hit Aaron Judge and give the Yankees a base run in a crucial series? No. Do I think Victor Gonzalez is trying to throw out Gunnar Henderson? No. Can I know for sure? I guess not. But like in my head, I just don't think that's I think there were even comments after the game where like, no, it's not really. It's just, I think it's just good competitive baseball. I don't think these 2 teams hate each other, but I don't think they're trying to, injure anybody, if that makes sense. I think fans kind of overplay that a little too much. But it's 2 really good teams going head to head. And I know right now it doesn't look that way because all the ceiling, the sky's falling apart. The teams are they're done or whatever. But these are, in my opinion, still the 2 best teams in the American League.
Okay, you talk about Gunnar Henderson a lot there, and he's one of the MVP contenders right here in the American League. How do Yankees fans view Gunnar Henderson over here in Baltimore?
I mean, he's a great player. I know with Volpe struggles, a lot of the conversations made too. Like these 2 guys are selected in the same draft class, and you have, a guy who is, I mean, let's, I know it's going to be a little hyperbolic, but like Henderson's on pace to have one of the greatest shortstop seasons we've ever seen. He might have like a 10 to 11 WAR year. I don't actually know off the top of my head the last shortstop to do that. That might be like maybe pre-integration. I mean, we're talking historic stuff here, right? Like we're talking about the kind of things that like, you immediately go from like, oh, he's really good. Yeah. To like, oh, this is like clearly the best shortstop in the game. It's not really close. And to see him, the progressions he's made defensively, offensively, he's a better base runner than he was last year. So 10 bases in 13 attempts. He's got 14 and 15. And we're like halfway through the year. His power is unbelievable. He just does there isn't a flaw in his game. You can look through everything. I don't know if there's anything that Gunnar Henderson does that's bad. And that's like, I think he's like, if you were to grade his skill set 20-80, you'd 80 all the offensive skills, and you're talking 60 to 80, the gloves 70 to 80. I mean, there's no flaw in his game. It's incredible. He's an unbelievable baseball player.
Yeah, he's pretty good. I'm actually going to do a list of players in baseball right now. If they're injured, they won't be on the list. And I know people are going to say I'm biased here, Ryan, but I'm gonna be honest. If I was putting a player right now in baseball, Gunner's number one on my list. If I'm going across all of baseball, if Ohtani was not, was able to pitch, then I think Ohtani would then be number one because, I mean, shirts and pants. The guy always going to steal 30 bags, hit 40, 50 home runs, and hit 300, which he's doing right now. But he's not pitching. Gunnar Henderson, I think, is that piece that is impacting the game on both sides. Now, Aaron Judge, though, Ryan, I mean, if it's not going to be Gunnar Henderson, it seems like be Judge. It's crazy to think that Aaron Judge is on pace for another historic season despite getting off to such a slow start. The dude had 25 jacks, Ryan, in 2 months. Like, for people out there, baseball enthusiast, shirts and pants, do you understand how ridiculous that is? That 25 jacks? It's unbelievable. Unbelievable, Ryan.
That's some people's career year. That's a lot of players' career years, 25 jacks in a whole season. He did it in 2 months.
He hit 409 in June.
Well, I was going to say what's crazy is that like Judge and Henderson, I think, would be runaway MVPs in like any other given year. Mm-hmm. And they just happen to be like, we're literally like, we're watching 2 historic seasons. Like, I do not want to downplay. Like, the word historic is not hyperbolic. These, like, I don't know the last time 2 players, I mean, you could say Ohtani and Judge in 22. But I mean, obviously Ohtani he kind of transcends that, right? Like 2 just pure position players. I don't know the last time I've seen 2 guys in the AL same time this good, right? It's unbelievable. It kind of feels, it's almost like the Trout Betts in 2018, but Trout didn't really play the full year, so I felt like Betts had it the whole way. Mm-hmm. I don't know, like it's just, these 2 guys are just ridiculously good. Like and Henderson does this as a shortstop, like 27 home runs, 91 games played, and he's also like +7 outs above average, +4 defensive runs saved. I don't know. Like, I just don't know a shortstop I can remember off the top of my head that can do this, because Seager could always hit. It's just the glove wasn't as good. Lindor has a great glove. Can't really hit the same way Henderson can. I mean, what, like prime A-Rod? Like, how far back do you have to go to find that guy? You know what I mean? Like, that predates my life. Like, I don't even know if A-Rod's glove was as good. So you really have to go back in history to find a guy like this.
God, I love it. You're getting me fired up, Ryan.
Yeah, Ryan, honestly, we know you're a Yankees fan, but if you ever want to cover more of the Orioles on a consistent basis here, and you can join on some of the react shows, we have Kevin and Zach react here on a channel here, hopefully around the All-Star break time. I don't know if you've seen that, Ryan. That's just where things go off the rails. Yeah.
Last night, it was after 45 minutes of discussing the Orioles-Cubs game, we got into we went over 2016 and 2018. Yeah, I know. I'm trying to get the camera refocused. But Kevin, we did 2016 and 2018. We read all of the Yankees and Orioles top prospects.
Yeah, we did Jorge Mateo when he was the number 1 guy in the Yankee system. And then who was it? Was Judge, and then was Torres 3? Or
no, Torres was a little further back. But yeah, Ryan, it gets a little out of hand during that. But did Rip, do you have something?
Yeah, no, I was just going to say right there, one, you guys are acting like that's like the wild part as you were talking about Mateo. Ryan, you won't look at deli meat the same way if you join the show. So, like, if you like a good sandwich or you like bacon, don't join. It is, Kevin, we're talking about you. And it's pretty evident. Even Rocco hasn't done that. Yeah.
Kevin, I have no words. I can't defend myself.
I know you can't. You're a good kid. All right. Well, hey, Ryan, then last thing here before we get you out is last Yankee Oriole related question. With Aaron Boone right now, it's the 3rd straight year of hearing everything's in front of us, which, hey, like, he's not wrong. Everything's in front of us. As a fan, though, of the team, should there be concern that New York could have the same fate they've had over the last couple of years, or what gives you a reason that they can and get back to the postseason and make some noise? Because the Yankees, the history, have not been back to a World Series in 15 years. Ryan, thoughts?
Yeah, so I mean, here's with Aaron Boone, I think, I don't think I necessarily align with like the fan base of like I want to just fire the guy right now. Like, I really think, like, first off, in season firing for a team that's in a playoff spot kind of feels crazy, right? But secondly, you know, I think it falls like, is Aaron Boone why like Carl Jordan hasn't panned out? I wouldn't say so, right? Like, I wouldn't say he's the reason why certain guys haven't played at a certain rate, why Stanton gets hurt, that kind of thing. I view Boone, like, is his message to me, is it right in front of us really resonate with me? No, doesn't really feel great to hear, but his job isn't to motivate me. That's how I always kind of like try to remember, like, his job isn't to make me feel good. It's to keep the players in check. It's to do that kind of stuff. It's to be somebody the players can rally behind. Now, if at the end of the year, right, like they're out of a playoff spot, it's baseball. It's how the world works. I imagine he would get let go, and I imagine that would probably be the right call, right? That you go 2 years out the playoffs, especially a year where you start off, and I think it would be the first team to ever win like 49 of their first something games and not make the playoffs. It would be a historic collapse. GM would have to go as well, probably, right? Like, as much as like Cashman has a lot of cachet with the organization, he's been here for a while. You know, if you cut the manager, right? Like, Girardi got fired under Cashman. Torre was let go under Cashman. 3 managers, right? Like, it feels like the GM's got to go at that point. I don't foresee that happening. Like, I think the Yankees will make the postseason, and you know, all you have to do is get a chance in, right? You know, and I think this goes for both Orioles and Yankees fans, right? The Astros last day won the division, the AL West, and then the Rangers like 4-12 against them or something. And the Rangers proceeded to, as you know, beat them in the ALCS. So all of these regular season games, all of the division stuff, the Yankees end up winning the division, if the Orioles end up winning the division, right? What I think everyone's going to judge these two teams on is what happens in October, right? Is it a failure if one of us makes the World Series and loses it? Absolutely not, right? If one of us makes it, if you guys make it, it's a massive success of the season. I don't care what happens after that point, right? If we make it, massive success of the season, doesn't matter what happens after that point. But I don't believe in firing a guy mid-season. I don't believe in firing a guy if the Yankee fans are going to say everything is judged on October, which that's how they operate. You can't fire a guy based off July. You have to fire a guy based off October. That's my kind of TLDR.
I like that. I think the reason why I just wanted to bring it up, I like Aaron Boone. The players like Aaron Boone. It's just when you're in New York, there's an expectation. And the expectation for the Yankees, and it's not just an Aaron Boone thing, their organization has not reached success that they've been hoping for over the last 15 years. And that's getting to a World Series and winning it. And I believe now, since 2012, both the Yankees and Orioles have the same amount of division titles. I think that's a fact check, but we'll see. Ryan, you are a delight, man. We got to have you come back on and talk about all the prospects that you've mentioned in the past for the Orioles. And again, if you want to join a very interesting reaction show,
we'll be in contact. I'll text you.
Okay.
You and me.
Yeah.
All right, Ryan, but before you get out of here, where can everyone find you with Fireside Yankees and your personal account?
Yeah, you guys can find me at Ryan Garcia ESM on Twitter. Fireside Yankees, there's an @ in my bio. We have a Twitter, we have a TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and a YouTube page. And I have a baseball podcast called @Caught Looking. That's also in my bio. So if you just follow me at Ryan Garcia ESM, you can find all those links.
Awesome. Definitely make sure to do that, people.
And you know what? This is the highest honor you can get.
Yep.
Zach, is this the highest honor you can get?
The highest honor you can get. On this show,
Ryan,
you're referred to as a good kid. That's a big step.
All right, Ryan, we appreciate you. Thank you. Good luck this weekend, and I'll be bothering you very soon. But that's Ryan Garcia, everybody.
Awesome. Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you guys so much. Have a good one.
You too.